Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for everyone, especially Mr. Runi Asmaranto as a lecturer from Disaster Mitigation class. Okay, today we are from Group 1 and we will present the results of our discussion about flood disaster mitigation in Pekalongan City. First of all, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Cahaya Lintang.
My name is Aisyah Pratiwi.
My name is Eka Muhammad Hewanto.
My name is Anugrah Satrio Utomo.
Okay, so the first subchapter that we will discuss is about a background and problem identification. Pekalongan City face a high risk of tidal flooding due to a combination of factors. There is a two factor, natural factor and human factor. Natural factor is sea level rise, land subsidence, heavy rainfall, and poor drainage system. And human factor is improper coastal spatial planning and land use change that disaggregate environmental carrying capacity. The high social vulnerability is exacerbated by limited resources, low preparedness, and low levels of education and welfare. Tidal flooding significantly impacts economic activities, social life, and public health. Areas such as Krapyak and Kandang Panjang have experienced up to a 25% increase in post-flood disease cases over the past 2 years. Moreover, evacuation facilities, drainage infrastructure, and healthcare services remain inadequate, making it difficult for affected communities to meet their basic needs during disaster. Next is research question. There is a 4 question. Number 1 is how vulnerable and resilient are the communities in the coastal area of Pekalongan City, especially in North Pekalongan District in facial tidal flooding? Number 2 is what are the impact of tidal flooding on public health, infrastructure, and economic activities in the affected area? Number 3 is how come the basic needs and adaptation strategies of affected communities be effectively and sustainably fulfilled? Number 4 is how effective are the government's structural and non-structural mitigation policies in reducing tidal flood risk in Pekalongan City?
Flood rate and vulnerability is a tidal flood rate. Point 1 occurred due to a combination of natural factor and human activities. Number 2, Pekalongan is located in a lowland area, 0 until 7 meter above sea level, with alluvial soil that is easily flooded. Number 3, land subsidence of 20 until 30 cm per year in Krapyak, Degayu, and Kandang Panjang, along with rising sea level, increase the risk. Number 4, high rainfall October until March, poor drainage system, land conservation, and mangrove degradation further worsen the threat. And then communication vulnerability. Number 1 refers to the inability of communities to cope with disaster risks. Number 2, key factor, physical, social, economic, and environmental condition. Number 3, North Pekalongan district is highly vulnerable due to population density less than 100 people per kilometer. Number 3, high poverty rates. And 3, large proportion of vulnerable group, elderly, children, people with disabilities, and poor health condition. Next. Disaster response capacity, the ability of communities, government, and institutions to face, respond to, and recover from disaster. Is to think the physical capacity and non-physical capacity. For physical capacity is construction of dam and flood embankment. Number 2, water pumping system. Number 3, evacuation routes and shelter. Number 4, healthcare facility. For non-physical capacity is community knowledge and disaster education, utilization of local wisdom, communication preparedness, and coordination among institutes for disaster management. Next, Wetland for tidal flood disaster management and mitigation. Disaster mitigation is a preventive measure taken before a disaster to reduce its impact. First, structural mitigation. Structural mitigation focus on physical effort to control tidal flooding. Example, construction and elevation of embankment. Second, improvement of drainage system. And third, reforestation and mangrove restoration. Goal to reduce the risk of flooding caused by seawater and rainfall. However, this approach is not sufficient on its own. For non-constructional mitigation and combined strategies, non-structural mitigation focus on community and institutional capacity. Example, disaster education and public awareness campaign. Number 2, preparedness training. Number 3, risk-based spatial planning. Number 4, risk mapping GIS. Goal to improve communication awareness and adaptive capacity. A combination of structural and non-structural approach in the most effective strategy to address tidal flooding in Pekalongan. Next. Study location. The study was conducted in the coastal area of Pekalongan City, particularly North Pekalongan District, which is frequently affected by tidal flooding each year. This lowland area lies under the influence of the Pekalongan rivers basin, so heavy rainfall and land use change increase the risk of flooding. This map for administrative map of Pekalongan City and flood hazard class map of Pekalongan City. Thanks.
At the slide, we talk about the flow chart, and this research focus on tidal flooding mitigation in Pekalongan City. We start by identifying the problem and disaster-prone area, then determine the study location is mainly coastal areas of Krapia and Kanang Panjang. The next, we collect the spatial and non-spatial data and analyze the vulnerability and capacity to understand the risk. Based on this, we conduct risk mapping and develop the mitigation strategies, both structure and non-structure, and finally conclude with the recommendation for sustainable flood mitigation. Next. At the next slide, we talk about the existing flooding condition and social condition of affected communities. Pekalongan City is a lowland coastal city, only 0 until 2 meters above sea level, making it highly vulnerability to tidal flood. Flood occur almost monthly due to high tide, heavy rainfall, and land subsidence and rising sea level, affecting thousands of homes. The area is densely populated with weak economic condition, the poor health facility, and low disaster awareness. The vulnerable group are heavily impacted. School area disturbed and economic sector like Batik and Fisher area severely affected. Next. At this next slide, we talk about the mitigation legislation and flood hazard analysis. The disaster management is regulated by Law Number 24 and several other national and regional policies. However, challenges include limited budget, weak conditional, and low public participation. The flood hazard area caused by heavy rainfall, high tide, and land subsidence, which make inundation with speed and prolong the high risk area include Krapia, Degayu, and Bandengan. Next. The lowland settlement, poor drainage, and land conference increase the vulnerability. Social and economic condition, such a high populated density, informal job, and low education, it make community more at risk. The capacity remain limited with ineffective infrastructure, uneven warning system, and inadequate health service. Therefore, strengthening community capacity and improve disaster management system are essential for reducing tidal flooding risk. Next.
Next, we're gonna talk about the disaster risk index. Flood risk is a combination of threat, vulnerability, and capacity. In Pekalongan, the risk of tidal flooding is high, especially in North Pekalongan district, encompassing the village of Krapia, Degayu, and Kandang Panjang. And we have the assessment data. We have three variables, which is like threat, vulnerability, and capacity. First one, we talk about threat with 0.04, which is the tidal flooding occurs frequently exacerbated by land subsidence and high tides. The vulnerability have 0.04. The high population density, weak economy, low disaster awareness. The capacity we have 2 points. The example is sea walls, elevated roads, and community preparedness are in place. However, evacuation and coordination facility are still limited. We have formula of the disaster risk index. We can see in this IRB equal threat point K slash C equal 4x4 slash 2, which is we have the point of 8 of this category. Flood disaster mitigation guidelines. Structural is construction of sturdy seawalls and routine maintenance. Second, we have dredging river estuaries and rehabilitating drainage. Third, we have coastal mangrove rehabilitation and planting. Non-structural, we have disaster education and evacuation training, community preparedness and community-based early warning system, adaptive spatial planning, avoid settlement in flood areas, and provide safe evacuation zones. The third one is institutional. We have strengthened cross-sector coordination, which is BPBD, PUPR, and health and community. Next slide. Conclusion: tidal flooding in Pekalongan is triggered by natural factors, which is like tides, high rainfall, land subsidence of 20 until 30 centimeter per year, and flat topography. And human factor is land conversion, groundwater exploitation, ecosystem damage. The most vulnerable area is in North Pekalongan, Krapia, Kandang Panjang, and Degayu. Due to dense population, weak economy, and low disaster awareness, mitigation measures such as seawalls, road elevation, and community alerts have been implemented but have not been effective due to limitation in early warning system. evacuation and coordination. There is warning system evacuation and coordination. The risk of tidal flooding remains high, requiring integrated mitigation efforts in the form of infrastructure, community empowerment, adaptive spatial planning, and coastal ecosystem restoration. Next. We have recommendation for Pekalongan, which first one is strengthening structural mitigation. Second, we have increasing non-structural mitigation. Third one is adaptive spatial planning. Fourth is cross-sectoral coordination and funding. And last one is strengthening community adaptive capacity. Next one. Next slide. Thank you for the time for the presentation.